In many parts of Africa, there is always a struggle for power. Struggles for power begin from the struggles for internal democratization of our parties or units where we belong when we come to power. The politics of compensational structure, the politics of deficit, the beginning from a deficit, that I had a deficit. I had a deficit before I was born, or when I was born. I found myself in a poor family. It's the politics of compensation that haunts Africa today. Many people want to take on leadership, but it's the leadership as a basis of where you came from, or the leadership has qualities.
My father bought me my first shoe in 1981 from a Mr. Onyango on the street for 60 shillings because he could not afford the butter shoes. Why am I saying this? Today, as you can see, the gentleman who did not have shoes is sitting at the high table. With the son of the founding father.
Sasa kama nitaambiwa naongea siasa, lakini I'm not, I promise. I have no such intention. But, you know, when you hear people out there, you know, they talk, oh, huyu mtu fulani, dynasty hii, sijui dynasty hii. It's not about that. Leadership is not about where you were born. It's not about where you came from. It's not about the color of your skin. It is not about your tribe. It is just about a desire to serve, a desire to do good, a desire to make a difference in the lives of people. And anybody can do that.
For a leader to be a leader, he must have qualities. Identify himself with qualities of good behavior, qualities of no corruption, qualities of no hatred, qualities of engagement, discussion with others, collective responsibility, listening to the people. These are the qualities. A leader who delivers does not need to have a background. A leader who delivers can deliver without a background of the rich or the poor. Many people in Africa seem to be misinterpreting that once you are born, you directed God to produce you in a particular family. None of us would have been where we are had we actually had a message from God where we would be born. I therefore look at this as compensational politics. Meritocracy is the answer. Meritocracy gives you the position that you yearn for. Meritocracy delivers you a position. Meritocracy gives you what you are doing for the people of Kenya or Uganda or whatever country where you are in Africa. But if you don't have these qualities, even if you are born from a family that had the whole world as theirs, then you cannot be a leader. It is therefore very important that the leaders who yearn to become leaders in Africa stop the usage of compensational politics. The politics that you want to compensate on others simply because you were poor, simply because you didn't go to a good school, simply because you don't drink in the same place where they drink, simply because you don't eat in that restaurant, simply because you don't have cars. That politics has got syndromes traits of people who are either corrupt or have hatred or have a problem on itself. I therefore call upon you people to re-examine as Africans that wherever you come from, the background you come from, you are an African. You can deliver something for your country. You don't need to be able, you don't need to come to compensate for the lost past, because with such attitude, you will grab everything and your country will collapse. Thank you very much for listening.
You know, when one is asked to talk about leadership in Africa, one's mind wanders in many directions, because in the recent past, the continent of Africa has been the subject of scrutiny from many quarters. There are those who are Afro-pessimists and take the view that Africa will never realize our potential. There are those Afro-optimists who take the view that the jury is still out on the success or otherwise of the continent of Africa. I am an Afro-optimist. I take the view that this continent has had a glorious past, and that this continent has had her trials and tribulations, but her better days are in the future. There are those who, when talking about Africa, are in the habit of dealing with Africa as if it were one monolithic block. They do not recognize that the beauty of Africa is in her diversity. And indeed, when you care to undertake a geographical survey of Africa, you will be amazed at what the west of Africa offers, what the center of Africa offers, what the south of Africa offers, what the Horn of Africa offers, and what the north of Africa offers. That is the continent that we are talking about today. And we are talking about her because she continues in many ways to punch below her weight. And many are the commentators who take the view that the reason why she continues to punch below her weight is because the men and women who have had the privilege and honor to serve her in different political capacities or leadership capacities have not served her well. There may be merit in that assessment, but those who are quick to judge, those whose only claim to fame is that they are professional fault finders, must ask many questions before they judge and condemn Africa unfairly. This continent, and I remember, and if we are to judge this continent fairly, we must go back to the past and look to the past and ask about this continent. And there are many who have written about this continent. How many of you here will forget the great writings of Senegal's Anta Cheikh Diop, who has documented in many ways the glorious past of the continent of Africa, the great kingdoms in Africa. When Europe was still in the caves, Africans were building monuments. If they were not building them in the Ashanti Empire, they were building them in Monomotapa here in Zimbabwe. And there is a sense in which all those have been consigned to the Museum of History. And those who look at Africa see Africa as a scar on the conscience of humanity, not remembering that they were themselves co-authors of Africa's misfortunes. We are the only continent and the only people in the world who have been commodified. How many of you will remember that agrarian Europe had to commodify Africa in order to realize our level of development? At one time in those early days, we will remember, even as we talk about leadership, that half of the population of this continent was taken away. If they were not taken away from Ghana, which they then christened Gold Coast, they were taken away from Angola. If they were not taken away from Angola, they were taken away from Mozambique. If they were not taken from Mozambique, they were taken from Senegal. If the Arabs were not taking us, the Europeans were taking us. If the Europeans in their different tribes were not conquering us, they were stealing from us. Those are the realities that we don't talk about when we talk about this continent. And you know, if one cares to judge the African continent, one must be historically conscious. The oldest African country after we regained our independence from Greater Chief. And the question that we must ask ourselves, why is it that this continent finds ourselves in that space? If it is not Europe summoning us, it is the United States of America summoning us. Everybody is in the business of summoning us. One may ask, what has this to do with leadership? You know, I listened to the Chinese president speaking in eloquent Mandarin, saying how the relationship between Africa and China is a mutually beneficial relationship. He spoke about Africa as if it was one country. He did not remind himself, in my mind, that there are 55 countries in Africa, or 54 if you ask Morocco. And I listened to the Chinese president specifically mentioning the Gambia and a few other, and Sao Tome and Principe, that they were welcomed back to the world because they had renounced their relationship with Taiwan and they had now recognized the one China policy. Do I say this because there is anything wrong with China? No. I'm saying this because the Chinese are providing leadership for their people. They know exactly what they want for their people, and they are doing exactly what they want for their people for the benefit of their people. The question that I'm posing to us, do we know what we want for our people? Are we doing what we need for our people? And the answer is, I doubt. Why do I doubt? I doubt because at the end of the entire enterprise, the Chinese president said that he had given, or his government had given, 60 billion United States dollars to 54 African countries. Notionally, therefore, each country would be entitled to no more than 1.5 billion. Half of the presidents who are present in China, each one of them, half of them, can produce 1.5 billion. Sportsmen in Europe and America, including boxers, can earn $1 billion in a single bout. And we are here celebrating and singing the praises of China because they gave us 60 billion. Once again, it is a statement of their ability to recognize what leadership is all about. I'm submitting to us that when we interact with people like the Chinese, there is something to learn from them. We may condemn them at forums such as this, But there is wisdom in asking ourselves, how is it that this country, which about 30 years ago could not feed half our population, has in 30 years during our lifetime succeeded in pulling up nearly 800 million people out of poverty? How is it that every road that is now being built in Africa, whether the road is in Benin, or in Nairobi, Kenya, or in Johannesburg, South Africa, or in Kigali, in Rwanda, or the Democratic Republic of Congo, there is a Chinese firm whose name I cannot pronounce as the contractor for that firm? How is it? How is it that China, which about 30 years ago did not produce a mobile phone, today, out of every 10 mobile phones, we are using 6 which are from China? If it is not Techno, it is some other phone. If we are not inviting Jack Ma, we are inviting another Chinese, because we have seen that they have the ability to organize their affairs. Some of us, particularly those of us who are in the middle class, our pride is that our child is learning Mandarin as a second language, not isiZulu, Mandarin. I fear, Bishop, that in the next few years, when they bring their children for baptism, and you ask them, how do you name this child? They'll say, Deng Xiaoping Simfiwe. I'm still talking about leadership. We have seen what leadership can do. Leadership has catapulted China to another completely different orbit. We have seen that leadership has catapulted South Korea to a different orbit. We have seen that leadership has catapulted Vietnam, which was bombed to the ground in 1975. Vietnam now produces more coffee than all African countries combined. What have they done? The men and women who have been given the opportunity to serve those countries long recognize that leadership is about service. And I can't agree more with the Honorable Minister who spoke before me and the good Dr. Aaron who spoke before me, that the true essence of leadership is self-discovery and self-esteem. You know, where I come from in my tribe, and I know in many African communities, when you do something very well, they say, you have done it like a white man. When you arrive on time, they say, he has arrived like a white man. When you speak well, they say, you spoke like a white man. When you dress well, you dress like a white man. When you go to a beautiful place in Africa, you say, it does not look like Africa, as if Africans are incapable of doing the right things. And I'm telling us that until the day that we exercise the ghost of low self-esteem, Africa is going nowhere. I'm submitting to us that history has demonstrated times without number that personal conquest is the beginning of true leadership. If you don't conquer yourself, you are going nowhere. And I'm submitting to us that Africa must now recognize that whatever institutions you have, until and unless it is populated by men and women who have ideals, those institutions will collapse, never to be put together again. So going forward, ladies and gentlemen, I hold the view that a conference such as this, that brings together men and women who recognize that Africa should occupy her pride of place amongst the Committee of Nations, must be a conference at which we speak to each other honestly. I think we Africans have been too kind to each other for too long. The time has come that we must annoy each other. It is only when we have annoyed you sufficiently that we can canalize that anger, and that anger can then be used to move mountains. And my joy is that Africa is not sleeping. My joy is that Africans are now beginning to wake up to the reality that we have not only the intellectual wherewithal, but that we have the resources to make our countries grow and grow in the proper direction. You know, not so long ago, and not so long ago in this case means about 50 years ago, I read and listened to the leaders of the early days. If you listen to any one of those leaders, the clarity with which they were able to identify the problems of Africa and the clarity with which they were able to prescribe the medicine that could solve the problems of Africa was as titillating as it was as astounding. You know, I listen to the more casual works and I read the casual works of a young leader in the 1980s, such as Thomas Sankara. You know, Thomas Sankara is a young individual whose claim to formal education was not very much. He did not hold any PhD.
Very good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us today. It's another edition of Good Morning Africa, the 24th of September 2019, and it is a pleasure to have you with us today as we bring you the latest from the continent. And of course, today we have other topics that we'll be looking at. Are we safe in our houses and buildings? Do we have health safety policies in our offices? How prepared are we on disaster management here? This comes after a backdrop of a school yesterday that houses around 800 students here in Nairobi collapsed, and 7 students lost their lives. And so that is something that has caught the country in very sad. And so we are going to look at what are some of the safety measures that the government has put in place, and the officials who are mandated to make sure that even schools meet the standards and the building meets the standard, who has been sleeping on the job. So we'll be here discussing it, and then later I'll be bringing you news across Africa from Biafra, Amazonia, Nigeria, Ghana, Ethiopia, Rwanda. I see one of our viewers here from Namibia. Thank you so much for joining us, Nelson Aguera. But for right now, I'm joined by no other than Dr. David Matanga. Doctor, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, our viewers missed you here yesterday.
Yes, fine. I was on another mission and I'm back here. And thank you very much for holding the fort. We were supposed to have discussed the topic of the churches, but we shall look for time this afternoon and maybe discuss it, because morality, are there morals in Africa left? Morality is part of the reason. That's why today we are here to discuss a very serious matter of safety. How prepared are we? The safety preparedness is and the preparedness of accidents. Are we safe in our buildings? Are we safe in our offices? If you look around in Nairobi, yesterday we lost people, but everybody knew this school was shaky. Even the children themselves knew that this school was shaky. It had cracks. They could see the cracks. They could tell the teachers. The doors could not open. When you see such signs on your building, you start running away very fast. So how prepared are we on the health safety regulations? Are Kenyans trained on the health regulation? How many Kenyans know the safety lessons in offices, where to run? Haven't we blocked our gateways, exit? If you go in all the buildings in Nairobi, and let's be very honest and start talking the truth now. If you go to all the buildings in Nairobi, all of them, kiosks have blocked exit. People have put buildings, shops in the exit in case of emergency. And we are blaming blame who? Go to these buildings here. Walk in every building in Nairobi. Someone has placed a kiosk. He's selling cigarettes. He's selling airtime. He's selling sweets. And this kiosk is not movable. It is a permanent structure. What does the council do? What the county council has done? Go to people's, I am telling you, most of the buildings in this country don't have fire extinguisher. They don't have. If the fire extinguishers are there, the gas inside is not there. The liquid dried a long time ago. The school was burned here in Kibera, Moi Girls School.
Yes.
It was on fire. Extinguishers were not working. Before, go to nightclubs. Nightclubs people put chairs in exit and they are dancing. They dance. Most of the time I go to these places to watch the behavior of human beings in Kenya. And not only in Kenya. There is nobody enforcing the law of health and safety regulations. And we are having people dying, younger men who could be presidents tomorrow of our African continent. They are going down because of negligence from health officials and the council officials. Shame upon us.
It's quite a shame, and yesterday I saw Nairobi Governor Mr. Mike Sonko come out and own the responsibility, the part of the Nairobi County for its role, because hold on, 800 students, pupils in a school. It's not just a school with 10, 20.
Stupid people.
800.
What is he owning? He is owning when people have died.
Mm-hmm. But still,
whether a person dies or whether he's a Kenyan or a Ugandan or Tanzanian, is a human being, is an African. Omondi, stop your stupidity. You don't come from a tribe that discriminates. We are aware of tribes that discriminate in this country. So I don't know why you also want to join the cabal or the caliphate of bigots who tell lies and discriminate people. Oh, this one, we shall, when we take power, we shall deport you. So when will you take power? What about if you don't take? So don't speak that. Don't spoil our program. The program is health safety. Are we safe in our houses? In fact, this thing has made me to go and buy extra things today for safety, ropes, everything. Ropes for getting out of such a situation. Use commando style. You must practice. You go for bowling at times. This can help to come out before the building comes out. You are out. It helps. Put more fire extinguishers. They help. Most of the people constructing buildings today,
they don't look at the regulations and properly. And the fact that the city council, which is supposed to be giving them even the permit, I hear you're supposed to have several permits before
you construct a school.
Yes, especially a school. And this school, as you could look at the rubble, it did not even have a proper foundation, and yet it was a building, upstairs with an upstairs.
No foundation. Mm-hmm. The worst thing is that the wire mesh that was used in concrete is like you can't even use it for a toilet. This man, the engineer, was saying this cannot be used on a toilet because a man of 200 kilos or 300 or 150 like me, if I sit on it, it will go down. You go down in a toilet.
So they were saying it's majorly used for maybe the chicken houses or something like that. And this was used to build a school. Where was Nairobi City Council all these years? I don't know how many years this school has been in existence. And 800 pupils.
And the MP,
every day.
Look, Miriam, the MP is always tanga.
John Kerry.
This MP a comedian who should not have even got that constituency. I'm telling you. He's all the time on the microphone everywhere. Oh, 2022. People are dying in your place and you are talking of 2022. You telling me? People are dying. In front of this school, there was a petrol station. You saw analysis. So, if fire catches that petrol station, how will those children escape?
In front of the school was.
Yes, they have just said it. People here go and build even houses. You have seen apartments that have come near petrol station. Who gives permission for an apartment to come near a petrol station? In London, it is because the safety regulations in London
it's not supposed
are
to be
fantastic.
On a residential area.
Yes.
That close.
But you have now look at the apartments on this upper road here. They are just near the petrol station. So if petrol catches fire down there, over 900 people, or even more, in those apartments, you have seen them behind here, they are put there. And luxuriously, people watched these apartments go up. What for? A petrol station is down there. You know what you need? The man in the apartment upstairs needs we are sorry, we are in a very terrible, let me tell you, Miriam, we are in a terrible state. Ma'am, anything that could happen here, we live here by God's mercy. I'm telling you. A petrol station like that one, with apartments over 20-story building, anyone malicious could throw a fire, just that. And it will be a hell for all of us. For all people, the cars who are there, people are sleeping at night. So regulations must be followed. But what is the problem here in Kenya? The problem is social contract has collapsed. There is no institution to check on these things. If you ask school quality surveyors for schools, if he has ever visited schools, we have this man drawing salary every month.
True.
But if you ask him how many schools he has visited in each county, he will tell you, the other day my motorcycle had no petrol. We have a situation in this country where police used to ask us for petrol when you have called robbers at your doorstep.
Yeah, they ask for, yes.
Anasema sukuma pesa za petrol.
Sure.
That situation is gone. Police is now efficient. They have their petrol. They have everything. Thank very much to President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and the legacy. And the police Boynet and the new police IG, Mr. Mutambai. Very good. If you carry on with that type of reforms in the police, we shall have a police that can come. We shall have a fire brigade that can come. I am happy about the fire brigade and the Red Cross. They ran very fast.
Yes, they went
and the citizens of Kenya, they were there. Civilians went to pick the iron sheet before to save the children. That is the spirit. But if you look at the social, it is like the social, like people whom we have given bail in court. Miriam, if you look for these guys, some of them are enjoying with their legs upstairs, up in the air in Dubai. If you ask where Lilian Omoro, who stole NYS money, is, that woman is there from Embu and married in Ruoland, she is not here. And the people, they have given her bail. No probation officer to look at where these people whom the courts say you are bailed, leave your passport here.
But her account was frozen. And
the account is being frozen. What about the people she had given money? Are the accounts frozen? The shops she was running in town, are the accounts frozen? You can't come and If I have a problem and I give you my money, you go and run a shop, are they coming to freeze your account?
Of
No.
course not. Mhm.
If you ask me where that conditions that are given by the court, don't go to those places, who supervises these guys? If you have a case with somebody who is stalking you, wants to kill you, they say don't go 50 meters away, 500 meters away from that home. Some of the people come to the door, said, I don't care, you call the court, I'm coming back for you. So there are no people supervising these court orders. There are no people supervising this, inspecting these buildings. We live at a risk. We go in those lifts in International Conference Center at a risk. We go in Bruce House, whatever, all these buildings, we are at a risk. You come out of the exit, the hallway is a kiosk. I can go now, right now, I can go to town and bring you like 10 photographs where the exits of emergency
Have been blocked.
have been blocked.
But in this case, like the school, of course, it's the building that fell, and the manner in which the structure, it was not even fit for any human being. Forget a school,
habitation.
for any human being to stay in such a building. And this building went up. The school got approval. The school got a certificate to continue operating as a school, and it is a public school. I think it's a private school with 800 pupils allowed to go there every day, risking their lives. That I don't understand, because even in the county government, they have different departments and different ministries, and there's somebody who's there to look at housing and also education. Do they not take their time to walk around the city and see these schools that have been registered in this county? How good are they, whether public or private? How good are they? And this is a school that is from the slum, so you can imagine a lot of parents there, because this seems to be like a sort of a private slum school, so they want their children to go and get the best education. And yet in that locality, I hear there's no public school there. That's why this school had that huge number of students going there, because there's no public. And so that's why the Member of Parliament, Mr. John Kerry, was being castigated yesterday. How is it that
He's busy.
public school,
He's busy.
such a huge
He's
area?
busy picking handouts from the Deputy President's office every afternoon, every Friday. How can he going around to play politics? Children are dying in his constituency. Now pick handouts. You know, this is a tragedy of Africa. We have put politics in everything. We do politics every day, but we don't even inspect one toilet in the. You notice that we do politics every day, but we don't inspect one toilet in our constituency. Ask how many MPs, these ones who move everywhere, how many times they sit in the constituency. I want to tell you, my dear, in London, the MP, it is a real job. When he's back in the constituency, he has a list of appointments for people to see him. And he works from morning up to evening. I'm telling you, he's busy in the office and solving problem, writing letters. Go this way, go, you don't have a job, go under there, go under try. You have immigration problem, go under try. So we have a problem here, Miriam.
Mm-hmm. And of course, the story is making
And
headlines.
let's come back to the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Are we prepared?
I don't think we're prepared. And
Every day I say Nairobi, and especially we lie on the pathway. Some of the cars of fire brigade come without water. Have you ever heard that story? Last year, the buildings,
they come without water.
there was no water.
Or the water they brought was not enough.
They
come without water.
Yeah,
A fire engine.
A fire engine came without water.
Wow.
This is the Africa we have. It is not only in Kenya, it is everywhere. Let the fire set in Lagos. Let the fire set in Kampala. But if you go to the budget They have been given lots of money. They have been given lots of money to go and buy this fire engine, to go and make sure that the water is available, to make sure that they drill within the compounds. You drill your own water. And most of the people generating salary should be drilling water to fill. That water must be mixed with a chemical. People make a lot of money. Miriam, let me tell you, people make a lot of money, but they don't consider the lives of the people. Our lives are not considered.
That is.
You know, those who supply like chemicals for the fire engine, it's money. That's why people have built houses in Muthaiga. That's why people have built houses in Karen, in Runda. Those who know who there can I supply. We are here. But then we don't have a problem with that. Please supply it and let it work. Let it work. People used to supply hot air. NYS, you have seen. A culture. The culture of all this, the basis is morality. Morals have collapsed in Africa. Morals. You find a huge man in Juba spitting on the road. And he stands like this. He said, oh, Joe, we are watching. People, children, you know, the children are standing. The children are going to school. He spits. Then even he does that, you know. This is enough. He just takes the mucus on the road. This is the life we have in Africa. We have no manners. That's why we have buildings being built. We take the children to the school when we have seen a crack. Me, I cannot see a crack on this building. I swear, I will not allow anybody to enter here. Even when a state, like when I see the way it is, I'm not even happy. You know, look at me. I'm not happy. I still want to change. Change it. Umeona? Nataka kuchange. I have that type of mentality. Nataka kuchange kitu ionekane mzuri kwangu. Watu wengine, that is how next year I will clock 64. I've lived nicely because I don't do on the floor. A huge man standing on the road and his children are in the car. The children are in the car watching daddy going to the roadside to susu. What type of person are you? What? The wife says, simamisha hao niende kwa in the bushes. What type of mom are you? What are you teaching these children? What are you teaching the children? You see the school is being built in front of a petrol station, a gas station. You don't tell the council to demolish it. You have to tell the council, remove it. That's why Bazungu, the white people, the population, they have developed their democracy. Sorry, our democracy, we fight over democracy, over votes. We are now fighting to go and rule. That MP is everywhere shouting his mouth. He doesn't know even how many schools he has in the constituency. He doesn't know how the children are charged money. Yet the school fees is supposed to be free. He doesn't know how the headmasters. You can't expect Dr. Makoha, Professor Makoha to be there. Professor Makoha looks at the files as they come. But he can't become Idi Amin and go and shoot people in the local constituency. The CDF planning. The MP sits on the CDF committee.
Like, what has he been doing with the
So, if these schools were not there was no public school. Doesn't he bring a decision that let's build this school, use this money, even if it's little, to build one school for these people?
And those Harambes they've been attending, perhaps he could have wanted, those politicians to come there and, contribute the money and help bring out, build a school in that locality. There's no public school in that locality.
Harambes are for politics.
I'm just saying he could have benefited his
Yeah,
people with that.
exactly.
Instead of,
These Harambes are political power. People are looking for power. I told you here, I teach political science, and let me remove these glasses. Look at me. Look at the political science we are doing in Africa. I told you Riek Machar cannot come to Juba. November is coming. We are here with you. Why? What we have done in Sudan, South Sudan, we have built a political hierarchy, not a humanitarian hierarchy. You see the difference? That's what we have done. Here in Kenya, we are building a political hierarchy for 2022. And these guys ourselves that we are going to initiate programs. What program are you initiating if a school is collapsing here?
in your own.
And then you run there with your designer shoes and the shirts.
It's a shame.
You stand there. Me, I cry in my bedroom. I can't run there with designer shoes.
And that's why I think
People have died and then you run with designer shoes.
it's a shame.
The MPs they wanted to stone the MP if the police were not there. People were upset with the MP.
Of course.
He's all over all the rallies. That is unstoppable. Unstoppable. Are you God? Unstoppable. What? Give what is Sicily. Forget about Rome. Forget about Rome. Rome is already secured by the Pope. Give what is in Sicily. Sicily is burning. Hey!
And I think he should emulate a person like the late Ken Okoth, who really brought a lot of development in Kibera. And even today, I think residents there will miss him very much because of how he changed their lives in terms of making sure the infrastructure, the inroads inside Kibera was changed. The schools there, we see, even at the time of his death, I think he was building the Mbagathi Girls High School, which was near completion. I think it was completed. And so, he was relatively a young person. And KJ, those are the minds he should be copying or trying to emulate, not this politicking 24 hours that they keep doing and across the country, whereas the responsibilities are neglected.
Can't you see someone has gone to Kibera to say, I'm going to give back to the family, to give back to the constituents? Why didn't you give back when you are a midfielder in Milan? Why are you coming now to give back when you see it will be a miracle. Maybe Kebukate will steal the votes, but it will be a miracle for such a man to be voted. An outsider who does not even know how people in Kibera suffer.
He's out of touch with the locals there.
It is. It's not that we decampaign anybody, but for me, I don't want to say. I follow what the president has said, and I'm a friend of the Jubilee Party. I'm not a member. I campaigned and broke my hand. This collar here, you see, but it has cured. I've never gone for any compensation. Yes, I was with a fleet of my people here. All of them are here. They're behind here. We campaigned in the coast. Uhuru vote hunters. So when I heard that Senator Murkomen had broken his collarbone, he cried like a baby because that bone is very painful. I also cried that I was amongst my people who could not take photographs. So Senator Murkomen, we wish you a quick recovery. That thing is painful, Baba, especially to younger men like you. There are things that you can try, but football is not yours.
was playing football.
in Kitui.
Oh, okay. For the members of parliament.
Yeah, the senator.
Oh, for the senator.
But he cried. That tape is very interesting. I cried even more. But for me, when I broke this collarbone, I touched it. It was like a sand. You know, the whole thing was like a sand. I said, oh, this is the first telephone I made was my wife to disclose the will. You know, you have got internal injuries. To be very honest, I said this could be internal injuries in the car. I did not move. The others people ran back. They stopped the cars and they came. I could not move. The call I made was to my wife to say, dear, I've had an accident. My wife said, you always joke like that. One day you'll have an. I said, for real, I've had an accident. Then she took about 3 minutes convincing. Then it became serious. Is when I showed the hand that is broken. I took off the shirt. Then she said, So that collarbone is very painful. So recover, Senator Murkomen. All those people who are laughing at you are just very bad people.
They don't understand.
In Kenya, they do that. If you are in bad shape, you are laughed at. Yes. It is part of the nature. So thank you very much, Miriam. That is the safety regulations. How prepared are we? We are not.
We are not. That is very apparent. And
we are not prepared. Disaster preparedness comes in a reactionary manner. We are reactive. We are not proactive. Africa is not proactive. If you say there will be a function at the United Nations General Assembly, people went to the American embassy in the last week before the president leaves. Africa, everywhere in Africa, I'm telling you, it's not only here, everywhere. You see officials now increasing the queue at the embassy of America and they're trying to step on your feet because they say, inakuja na gari mkubwa anaenda. But they know the date that the General Assembly will start on 17th of September and end on 30th. So you should go and get a visa. We are not prepared. I used to see it on ICC. We used to go to International Criminal Court. People could run at the last minute, 3 days before the date of hearing, to get visa. MPs, ministers, cars. You got there in this place here. The one where Kiromo is, Riverside, where the embassy is. You find the whole place is full of members of parliament, ministers, not ministers, members of parliament. Oh, this businessman, I want to go on Wednesday. Oh, Matanga, shall we meet there? Me say, I'm already gone. So we are not proactive, we are reactive. And as a result, we kill a lot of things, project, because of our reaction to a situation. We make it worse. Look at the comments people are making now. Look at the intervention process. Do we have an intervention system? How do you intervene in an accident of this nature? Help. How many counseling? Do we have these institutions? We don't have. We go and borrow money from China. We eat it like greedy people. Swallow it. But the Chinese have a system. One of the systems is that at every year we eat a dog. You must eat a dog. It's their culture. It's their social well-being. They are hardworking. They eat noodles. They don't eat course 1, course 2, course 3, course 4. We Africans sit and eat course 1, course 2. And you even fight the wife for missing one of the courses. Am I wrong? There are people here killing their wives because the wife did not give him extra meat.
Extra meat.
In Africa, we have bad manners, and we have to talk about them. spitting on the road, throwing dustbin anyhow, garbage anyhow, blowing your nose, even in front of the car, matatu you are traveling, somebody is blowing it. These things are happening. So we need to go back to the school and learn patriotism. You can't kill one Israeli soldier. The whole nation will mourn. One. Whether lame or whatever, whether a midget, they will look for him.
They will.
Where is our patriotism in Africa? We allow Paul Biya to slaughter people. Where is the patriotism? We fly to New York with Paul Biya. Where is the patriotism? We slaughter our brothers in Africa from South Africa. Where is the patriotism? We beat each other. Where is the patriotism? We are looking for political power. Tell me what Malema would tell Grace Mugabe. He came to Zimbabwe because he saw Mnangagwa has gone. He came to Zimbabwe. And guess what he has said? He's propagating the G40.
Oh, he's come back. He went to visit him.
Yes, he was in it. There, look at the manners we have. Grace Mugabe, because of bad manners, she has now put the wife, the husband, in the house. She's supposed to be in the mortuary, in the city mortuary.
Wait, Mugabe he's not in the mortuary?
No.
But he said, according to his will, he said Grace Mugabe should be beside his coffin until he's buried. So maybe she's just, honoring his last wishes. But that is, what? For a whole month?
We perform an abomination.
What? How do you even sleep?
We can't know whether that was the decision made. To be near her, then why can't she just...
You mean Mugabe is in the house, not in the mortuary?
Exactly. You haven't seen the pictures. She is in the green house, in the blue house.
And then the body must
My
have
uncle,
served.
my African uncle is still being tortured, even when he has died.
That is like a bad Halloween.
We are torturing the guy,
Sure.
He has died because of bad manners we have in Africa.
So he'll stay there until he's buried at the Hero's Corner.
After 30 days,
Until they finish with
the mausoleum, then she will want to bury privately.
Yeah.
What do you explain a woman who had taken a whole African leader? A whole African leader. I was waiting for this to be over. I went there. I saw my uncle being buried for the last time. I caught the soil of Zimbabwe. I said, thank you. This is the soil that was going to make me killed in London for defending it. Now time has come to analyze the early Damascus of Africa. The early Damascus of Africa is here. She's still with the body.
I'm shocked. You see, I'm even speechless. I thought they took it to a morgue.
No, it is there in the house.
How do you sleep?
Didn't you see the pictures? Yesterday, Malema came to see. The body is in the house.
Or was the body brought to the house because Malema was coming, or the body is just in the house?
No, it's in the house.
Does it go for cleaning and treatment? And
I think you see, she's, because of bad manners in Africa we have, she's now bargaining over the dead body.
I can't even wrap my head around it. The spookiness.
The type of killings that we are seeing here in Africa, we don't want to speak about it openly. We take sides. When you find these women, black women in town, in hotels, especially those slender ones like you, they are busy with Bazungu. Because Bazungu don't like the heavy one, but the heavy ones like those from Uganda. They like the slender. Eh? So you find them doing lots of things. But now, the lesson that Cohen has done teaches you. You stay with the Muzungu for 30 years, and on the wheel, you cook, you even take his inner piece. You go with nothing.
But they're only married for 2 years. And I think Cohen...
30 years.
Not 30.
Yeah, they have stayed for 30 years.
They've been together for quite a number, but they've only been married for 2 years, I hear, from 2017.
But don't you see that was something, we can't talk about it. I'm told the seat has been looking for a way to get me, because I always get her, the way she handled Obando's case. Leaving those two younger men in jail and releasing this Obato to go to Tanga around. It's no justice. It is Obato who had sex with Sharon. Why do you fix these younger men? Surely. Don't you think that was unfair? There's a lot of injustice in this country over this type of cases. Oyamo is suffering in prison, cannot be released. Not because he doesn't have bail money, he has. But look at the case.
Our judicial system is very interesting.
The judiciary, tomorrow you have to talk about it. It has gone back to the worst position it used to be. The entire judiciary has a problem. Morality has collapsed. Maraga is, I don't know. You know what? I went to a certain hotel and I met, when I looked in the corner, I saw the deputy chief justice seated with a government official who is supposed to prosecute. Was it a love affair? I just walked my way.
But you can't conclude it was a love affair. Maybe they had other businesses they were discussing. Presumption sometimes can be dangerous.
No, you can't. No. This is a condemned lady. And she can't sit with such a high person in the Ministry of Justice. They know each other if you are watching me. So I saw you. I have very sharp investigative eyes. That's how I managed to dismantle Ocampo and the International Criminal Court. Because I saw everything. I went to London, to Hague, in a Chinese restaurant. The former Chief Justice Mutunga had told the people he went to London. I followed him to the restaurant. There is one good Chinese restaurant in The Hague. I sat in the corner. You know these jackets during winter. Nilifunga namna hivi na kapu hapa. The Chief Justice is telling people in the newspapers in Nairobi, the former Chief Justice, that he is in London. I said, no, he's here. I took a photo and I sent it here. He's here with Fatou Bensouda. So, a Chief Justice is talking to Fatou Bensouda to lock Uhuru and Ruto. I'm always frank. Because he's from the civil society. He wanted them locked. Talked for 45 minutes. I also ate more noodle. I was watching and I had my Chinese ting beer. Then after doing my photograph and everything, I turned it this way. I started drinking, continuing, I called it, there's a Jamaican friend of mine there. Let's have a drink, man, before we go to London. So this behavior, morality, all this goes to morality. When you see a church, let me use this opportunity so that I leave you the rest of your time and then maybe we do the African Just 5 minutes. A church goes to tell people we need the money. Yet the Bible, the doctrine, Jesus said, give to Caesar what is Caesar, and to God what is God. So what was the bishop, the Catholic bishop of Embu, what was he saying?
Yeah, that got me a bit confused, Doctor, because one, we know Catholic Church does not allow any politicking in the church. They do not. That is a policy.
Because he had been oiled.
So how this bishop allowed the politicians to come there, and the statements that he made that were very political.
He was oiled. You know how many days left to the oil money? If you have the money and the cement, bicycles and the motorbikes that have been bought, can't you speak like you are a madman near Angel Gabriel? Hallelujah. He was oiled. Give to Caesar what is Caesar's. Pay the taxation to Caesar and come to church, pray. You don't mix the two. That's the doctrine of divinity, of theology that I studied better than that bishop. He can't even beat me on divinity. Let him come. Why did Jesus chase thieves? Why did Jesus chase thieves from the church? And we are allowing thieves in the church. Donation is in the church. Jesus got a whip and whipped. There are some people here telling people, God, we are religious. We are even more religious. Some of us started being beaten to understand religion in 1959, 1962. I was well-organized Christian. So don't tell us about religion as if you started it. Gosh. Tell me that what? Jesus, if you know the Bible very well, Jesus left Jericho and asked the disciples to go year ahead and look for a donkey that has never done any work. Bring it. When they ask you who sent you, say the master. Why was Jesus looking for a new donkey? He did not want a corrupted donkey. Because he was going to the house of the Father to chase from that day from Jericho. Tell me, Jesus did not enter the temple with any disciple. Let that bishop of Embu tell me where he saw disciples in the temple. Hallelujah. He went alone and got these thieves, got a whip on the donkey which was not corrupted. Chased them away out of my father's house. And then a bishop somewhere in Embu is telling us, bring it, bring it. Later, Ebesha. Go. Why do you confuse people? That's why we have schools near the bishops, but they still continue to tell people, take your children to school, take your children to school. Morality has collapsed. Thank you very much, Miriam. It is 12:15. 45 minutes is good enough for you to hit back home. And I will be on standby here waiting for any questions. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you're watching us across the world. So let me just bring us up to date with what is also making headlines across Africa. And we start with Rwanda, where a prominent opposition politician in Rwanda has been stabbed to death. His FDU party, as has said, Siridio Dusabumurenyi, a coordinator, was at work when he was attacked by two men. The party's leader, Victor Angabire, told the BBC. The father of two ran a canteen at a health center, the Central District in Muhanga. The police have not yet commented on the murder. Mrs. Ngabire says the murder of Mr. Dusabu Murenyi is the latest in the series of attacks on members of her party with the aim of terrifying them. And Ghana security forces has foiled an elaborate plot to target the presidency with the ultimate aim of destabilizing the country, the information ministries has said. A joint security operation last Friday led to the arrest of 3 people and seizure of several weapons, said the statement also added. One of those arrested included a local arm manufacturer. The operation came after 15 months of surveillance and gathering of evidence on the activities of the prime suspects and others. Between June and August last year, one of the suspects contacted a number of serving military personnel and talked to them into hatching and executing a plot to obtain weapons, take over key installations, and secure funding for the purpose of taking over the reins of government in Ghana.
Hold it there first. Another military coup in Offing.
Do you know there's a section of, I think in Ghana, I can't remember where, we also wanted to secede, I think could be that
there's always Ashanti, the empire. They feel they're
not part of. Okay.
They have mixed. Another military coup in Ghana. It worries me when Rawlings is still alive. So Ghana and Nigeria, if you read their background, it worries.
It is.
Aronzi, things started like that. Okay.
All right, let me finish up and then we talk about it all together. And families who lost relatives in 2 fatal Boeing 737 MAX air crashes in Indonesia and Ethiopia are set to receive about $550,000 each from the company. The money comes from a $15 million financial assistance fund which Boeing announced in July. And in Nigeria is facing a housing crisis with conditions among the worst in the world. A UN report has warned more than 2/3 of Nigerians are living in poor settlements with a lack of basic amenities. The UN's housing rapporteur Leilani Fadma said she was speaking in the capital Abuja at the end of her 10-day visit to investigate the housing situation in the country's cities. And the population of Nigeria, already the biggest in Africa, is expected to double to 400 million by the middle of the century, and the West African nation already lacks more than 22 million houses for its citizens. And we go to Sudan, where Sudan's new finance minister Ibrahim El Badawi has announced plans to secure and restructure the economy with inflation soaring and huge sums needed for food and fuel imports. A price rises after the removal of subsidies led to months of protests, which forced longtime leader Omar al-Bashir out of power in April. And we go to Egypt, where almost 500 people have been detained in Egypt in the past few days after protests against alleged government corruption. Human rights activists have said demonstrations were reported in Cairo, Alexandria, and several other cities on Friday, and in the port of city of Suez on Saturday evening. The authorities have not yet released an official number of those who have been arrested. And we go to Zimbabwe, where the main water treatment plant in Zimbabwe's capital, Harare, has been closed down because of a shortage of foreign currency, local officials have said. Deputy Mayor Enoch Mupamawonde has described the situation as devastating and appealed to the government to make enough foreign currency available so that chemicals can be purchased for the treatment plant. And still in Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe's state newspaper, The Herald, on Monday said the country's former president, Robert Mugabe, died of cancer after chemotherapy treatment was stopped because it was no longer effective. The revelation, attributed to President Emerson Mnangagwa, marked the first time the government is sharing the cause of Mugabe's death. And in Burundi, thousands of Congolese students and universities in Burundi are boycotting classes after the arrest of fellow undergraduates from the Democratic Republic of Congo. More than 90 students from the DRC have been arrested in Burundi's main city of Bujumbura since Wednesday, reportedly for not having visas, and some have been deported. DR Congo and Burundi are both members of the Regional Economic Bloc of Great Lakes Countries Economic Community, known by its French acronym CEPGL. And of course, if you're a member in one of these countries, you do not have to apply for visas. You can stay and renew it every 3 months. And Ethiopia officials have confirmed the Islamist militant members of the Somali group Al-Shabaab and Islamic State were planning to carry out attacks in the country on various targets, including hotels. The National Intelligence Security Services issued a statement over the weekend saying it had arrested an unspecified number of militants, and some of whom were carrying out intelligence work, including photographing potential targets. And we go to Uganda, where now, without Kenya committing to disarm the Turkana and West Pokot, the Karamoja community on the Ugandan side of the border is worried, and saying that it will be difficult to implement the recently signed cross-border development program sponsored by the United Nations. The program was launched in Moroto, Uganda on September 12th and witnessed by President Yoweri Museveni and Uhuru Kenyatta of Kenya, dubbed the Kenya-Uganda Program for Peace and Sustainable Development. The objective include improved infrastructure, reduce tensions over water and pasture over the area. And we go to South Sudan, where the son of the former President Daniel Arap Moi, Kenyan President Daniel Arap Moi, has denied profiting from South Sudan's civil war. According to a corruption report conducted by the Sentry, Gideon Moi is one of the profiteers who have looted billions of dollars from South Sudan. And Gideon Moi is a Kenyan politician who has served in the Senate of Kenya representing Baringo County since 2013. And we go to Biafra, where former governor of Anambra State, Chukwu Mwekeze Ezefie, has said that the elderly people in southeastern may embrace the Nnamdi Kanu-led indigenous people of Biafra if the other parts of Nigeria conspire and deny the zone presidency in 2023. He also said that the agitation and crusade being carried out by Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and his group for Biafra referendum was were forced to do that because of the negligence they have been receiving from the country, as if they accused the Nigerian government of making deliberate efforts towards pushing the Igbos out of the country by denying them occupying sensitive positions, including leading them any of the security agencies. And still on Biafra, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, might lead members of the group to the ongoing United Nations General Assembly in New York today. The IPOB leader last week led a delegation to the United Nations in Geneva to explain why they were insistent on the sovereign state of Biafra, the spokesperson of the group stated yesterday in a statement. And we end with Ambazonia, where Cameroonians living in the diaspora have begun meeting with teams dispatched from home by Prime Minister Joseph Dion Ngute to discuss what they think should be tabled as the forum of the major national dialogue slated to take place from the 30th to the 4th of October 2019 in Yaoundé. As such, consultative talks were held in France, UK, and Canada. And that is the latest news from across Africa. Thank you for joining us. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Miriam. Thank you. I picked Ethiopia.
Yes.
Ethiopia worries me. Sometime back here with you, I told you that Ethiopia is drifting towards insecurity. Prime Minister Abiy was too quick to endorse and bring the Eritrean president. I'm telling you, and in Africa, people don't listen to people who talk the truth. I am one of those. Call me names, but believe me in the name of God, I will tell this truth until God comes, takes me away. Dr. Abiy was too quick, very quick. He should not have embraced. He should have studied Eritrea. Why millions of Eritreans are dying in the Mediterranean Sea? A man whom I know very well, because Afaki will not say Matanga doesn't know me. We used to sit with Afaki in London in the same office when he was the vice chairman of Ethiopia Relief Association. I was the vice chairman of Uganda Community Relief Association that settles the refugees. In London, in Islington, Highbury and Islington, we had offices near the train station. But this man, I predicted, I used to talk like this. I said, this guy here in the future will be a very deadly man. I was right. Dr. Abiy ran too fast to endorse Afaki. consequences are those. Al-Shabaab, the safest city on planet Africa was Addis Ababa. Headquarters of AU, you can sleep anywhere. You can leave your phone and they will call you. The police found it. There is no way in Ethiopia you can steal anybody's phone. Because in Ethiopia, the phone matches the SIM card. The SIM card matches your photograph. Live photograph. At any kiosk, the man will take you want a SIM card. You will be taken photograph so that it is attached with that photograph is run quickly here to the Central Intelligence System. So if your phone is lost, you only need to tell police. They will just say, come back after 3 hours. They will find who has it. A secure country now infiltrated by Al-Shabaab terrorists who are going to create chaos in that place. Dr. Abe rushed too much. Dr. Abe has taken sides on this question. He's being rushed in by Mogadishu. Another limping man who calls me a fat boy kafir. Thank you very much. I am still a kafir. Look, Ethiopia is taking sides. You know why Al-Shabaab is coming there? Is the daily of the love on involvement in Mogadishu. Ethiopia does not want the entire to unite with AMISOM. It wants to operate in Balidoa.
But also the Somali president wanted only Ethiopia and Eritrea to be the ones.
You saw what happened yesterday to two presidents of Somalia who wanted to go to witness the swearing-in ceremony.
Two presidents. What do you mean, the Somali?
The former president.
Okay.
To witness the swearing-in of Madobe. This guy here,
they wanted
Famijo, the cheese man, cheese. I will also cheese you all the time. You are in New York, watch this. Cheese man, you know power here in Africa, why we still have coups coming. It was Sharif Ahmed Sharif. What did he do? Sharif Ahmed Sharif called this family man to come and lead. Have you seen? You give a man who turns around to stab you. Umeona?
So the two ex-presidents of
were
Somalia
stopped from flying to Kismayo.
Why?
All flights to Kismayo were cancelled. Because
and by them coming and witnessing Madobe's inauguration, would that have sent
a message? Yes. But Mr. Famijo, whether you meet President Kenyatta today or tomorrow, I swear if you don't get out of that court, I'm still with you until I expose everything. We are on you. We are going to expose. Thanks God. You know, give me a credit. The judge is about to recuse himself. He can't be on the... Yes! I don't touch something and it doesn't work.
Oh, that is the latest.
Yes!
The ICJ.
The letter is coming. Complaints are genuine. Previously, this guy is complained from the cupboards. The former Attorney General said the private meeting. Why do you hold a private meeting with a man who is running the affairs of a church of a country and you are going to defend your country? I do my things. That's it. Touch me on international law, I will defeat you. I saw the loophole. I know it. You can't have a Somali judge sitting to judge Kenya unless Kenya is mad. Bring any other judge. And what the Kenya government should do, subpoena the complaints. I don't know whether lawyers know. Do you know what a subpoena is?
You served with the...
Yes. No, some lawyers don't know.
I'm sure they do.
They don't know. These lawyers who look for money
Being served with a court order
to subpoena.
to subpoena.
Subpoena Matsanga's evidence. Subpoena my evidence. The complaints that I put against the judge as a citizen of the world. You are entitled. You can't have a rapist commanding a battalion in DRC Congo after raping DRC women, and then you transfer him to go and command another battalion in Uganda. No, we petition. And that's what I did. So we go slow. We are slow. We are not keeping quiet on them. This Abdi Hassalam Sada, we are on you.
You've added him another name.
Yes, until he comes. There is a constitutive arrangement in the AU to arbitrate such circumstances. I don't see why
Somalia would not opt for that.
Ethiopia is suffering because they didn't listen to my advice.
Because they had interest in this.
Yes, they rushed too fast to embrace Eritrea. I want to thank President Uhuru Kenyatta. He went there, and when he came back, he never followed.
But what could be the problem? Because we see that
Of that place.
Ethiopian has been trying to reach out and try to make peace with Ifaki there.
It started in exile.
But he's in fact, after they agreed and the border was open, Eritrea closed its other part. So it's not. It's like it's been. Just
Can I tell you the problem? It's simple.
And now you've been saying, and also there has been records that Al-Shabaab, after they hit Kenya, whatever they do, they run to Eritrea. Now
Exactly.
they have been found in Ethiopia.
Yes. No, you tell me.
What is the matrix
The
there?
Al-Shabaab has a new uniform. Where do these uniforms pass? Where do they pass? Niambie?
Al-Shabaab has new uniforms.
They get new uniforms.
Yes, they do.
In fact, they have better uniforms, more organized than our national armies.
And sophisticated military equipment
Yes.
as well.
Someone is bankrolling them. Somebody is giving them a lying low, a hit and a back cell, sleeper cells, sleeper organ, sleeper holes. And Dr. Abiy rushed too much to bring in this guy who used to call us kafirs because we drink alcohol. With
Zenawi.
Zenawi, myself, Dr. Nambago, we used to have a drink. And he calls us, they are going. One day we entered the office, we found he was saying the Kafirs have not come. I had it. So when you have such people, me, I told these guys that this guy one day, so the library, why it split? Tigray Liberation Army was one united army against against this man called Mengistu Haile Mariam. But when after fighting and being in the federal capital, Addis Ababa, this guy said, my people don't look like yours. I want to go and teach them manners. He said, your people drink alcohol. Mine don't drink. It's very rare to be served alcohol in Eritrea, except in diplomatic quarters. And even a diplomat must have a certificate.
Wow.
That's the life. There you are.
So what is this new problem between DRC and Burundi? Burundi is taking all the students they're studying in
France.
And taking them back forcefully back to DRC.
France.
Nkurunziza is not interested in making friends. He's only making more enemies in this
Yes,
continent.
France. There's no Burundi government. Have you seen France condemning Nkurunziza for leaving ICC? Did you hear anything?
Not quite.
Yeah, so when I tell you these things, take them. France did not condemn, neither did they persuade Burundi not to quit ICC. But they condemned Kenya When Kenya tried to leave ICC, the French were the first people to condemn us. There you are. The problem of Congo is now in Congo, we have a simple thing there. Tshisekedi is not liked by the French. Therefore, if he's not liked by the French, he has to leave. So they antagonize by sending these guys back because they could be the ones being used by Kagame. Because you see, Tshisekedi went and met Kagame. That annoyed Nkurunziza. You get the point? So the Congolese in Burundi, in Bujumbura, could be looked at as rebels. These guys as students.
Wow. His problems they're brewing. And now Nigeria is facing a housing crisis.
Surely?
There's another UN rapporteur. They've been having they've been busy in Africa. There was one where, well, I think in Nigeria and also one in Zimbabwe for a 10-day visit there to investigate the housing situation in the cities there. And I found that Nigeria lacks about 22 million houses for its citizens. And also, she said some settlements lacked access to potable water, toilets, and rubbish disposal. And this is just some of the problems that plagues a lot of African cities, to be honest. And so, I don't know, like you keep saying, we do not have the social contract. And so we're used to living in bad conditions. And that's why you're seeing things like the school that collapsed in some parts of Nairobi here yesterday are happening because who cares? We don't really pay attention to things that matter. And in Zimbabwe now, apparently the former president died from cancer. He must have been. There's a time there was the rumors that he had prostate cancer, but the government came when he was still the president, and I came out to refute those statements. But
I have seen another video running around the waves where they have said Mugabe has a house in London, Mugabe has this, has that. I just want to ask you one thing. Mugabe had these things where? Because when they froze, if these things were in London, they should have been frozen by the state, the government of United Kingdom. Then how can Mugabe have a house in London? I never saw. I was one of the people who brought his bank statements from the bank. And we took the bank statement. So where, Mugabe has died, but the people...
I'm still not over the part that you're saying that Grace Mugabe still has the corpse.
It is there. I don't know why you are not the only.
No,
Are you the only stranger in Jerusalem?
I had imagined that perhaps it was taken back to the morgue after the visit to the village. It was taken back to the morgue because they still had a lot of time before the mausoleum gets completed. For me to hear that it's still in the house, I just don't know how you sit there and have breakfast every day and go to sleep. Do you sleep next to it? Do you go? What is happening? Like it's just interesting that I did not know that for sure. And this former governor of Anambra State, Mr. Chukwemeka, here is saying that soon the elderly people in the southeast part of Nigeria may start embracing Nnamdi Kanu and Biafra, because he feels that that part of the country has been left, and he's saying that if the other parts of Nigeria conspire and deny the zone presidency in 2023, then they will go and join Biafra.
The situation of southeast of Nigeria worries. It worries any human being. If you are doubting, Malema was yesterday in Zimbabwe. You see that?
Is this the same coffin or is it different?
Yes, the same coffin.
Jeez.
He was in Zimbabwe yesterday. Seeing this is the house.
Yes, that is the house.
That's the food they're eating. And the body is here.
I'm done. Okay. Or maybe they just got the body from the morgue and they
No,
brought it to the house.
Madam,
I'm just trying to.
there is
wrap my
nowhere
head.
which morgue can you keep Mugabe.
Why?
In Zimbabwe, there is no morgue.
There's no morgue that meets the
No.
standard of former head of state.
No, he's kept in his house.
Oh my goodness. Just the spookiness. It's like Halloween.
People are using it as a
bargaining chip.
yes,
Over what?
over power. She still needs power. She wants to have. She's young. She needs to lead Zimbabwe at a certain stage.
Who and which Zimbabwean will allow her to do that? Is she okay? Is she okay? And Oko Ajake, you're saying, Dr. Refugees, they're killing citizens of Gambela Law of Ethiopia. And Basil Simbambuya, I don't know who you're.
Tell Mr. Rande, tell Honorable Bawobenga to respect us. I don't know.
They seem to be having their own quarrel there. But Ogebe, thank you so much. Yes, and the rest of you, thank you so much. And I think South Sudanese here. So, okay, just before we go further, I see a lot of South Sudanese audience here this afternoon. And this report, Doctor, the son of the former President Daniel Arap Moi, Mr. Gideon Moi, is being mentioned very widely. It is said that the 55-year-old chairperson of the Kenya African National Union, which ruled Kenya for decades, in February 2014, formed a company with President Kiir's daughter, Adut, his son-in-law, Nados Gebeyehu, and his close advisor, Akot Lowell Arej, according to the Taking of South Sudan. Now, shortly 2 months after the conflict erupted in Juba, December 2013, Conex Energy Company, a company controlled by Adut, who is Kiir's daughter, and Kiir's son-in-law, Nados, that company is owned by Kiir's daughter, Kiir's son-in-law, and a close advisor to the president affiliated with the NSS, formed the joint venture Caltech Corporation with South Sudan registered Lukiza. So it appears that Mr. Moi, and one of our viewers brought this question here yesterday, that Gideon Moi really benefited. In that report, that George Clooney said that a lot of international companies benefited from the chaos in South Sudan. He seems to be. And also one of our viewers here said, people from Kenya, also Uganda, and across the region have also been benefiting from the chaos in South Sudan.
Many people, especially in Uganda. I know Ugandans who have benefited very, very, very heavily from the conflict in South Sudan.
They will not want.
I know. That, honestly, let me tell you.
Yes.
And that's why I have been telling you that for IGAD to successfully have a peace accord, it must start a humanitarian engagement, accountability, human rights. Accountability is the best way. You see what George Clooney and Pendergast, Sentry, those are very dangerous people. If they come near your country, you know it is going to be spoiled. And that is what they are heading to. I told you that South Sudan will head to a tribunal, a UN tribunal. If South Sudan has to regain peace, it must have a tribunal to try the people who committed heinous crimes. Political rearrangement, extension of president and the presidents and the vice presidents, even if you make 200 of them, South Sudan cannot stabilize.
There's a lot of interest there.
Yes.
Even
if you extend everybody who complains, you make him a vice president. Everybody a vice president. No. This thing has to change, and we start from a humanitarian point of view. How many people died? Accountability is very important. If you put a tribunal of Sudan, the leaders will sign the agreement in 2 minutes and honor it. And that's what that is Clooney is heading there. This report goes to UN.
Oh yeah, it will be. A Remember, the UN just had their own report last week that said they're recruiting new child soldiers.
Yes.
Yes.
So accountability.
In readiness
Now you agree with me
for a new civil war.
that accountability lacks in the agreement, and
does.
therefore
It does. I don't
you
know.
can't kill 384,000 people.
Plus.
They have gone to God, to the Maker and the plus, and then you say you'll make an agreement to become a president or deputy or what? I know. It haunts.
It does.
Yes, and you see Dr. Riek Machar is putting new conditions. Yeah, his security is guaranteed. I agree with him. It must be guaranteed.
But as you're saying, if he does not show up, he'll go on and form the unity government.
Exactly.
Uniting with who?
Yeah.
Because he's supposed to be uniting with Machar. And of course, now Uganda has said that Kenya, if that peace deal that was signed between Turkana and Pokot and the Karamoja at the border there in Moroto, then Kenya has to disarm Turkana and Pokot and West Pokot. This is something that you've been saying here since time.
You cannot work with people who come to drink with the guns when the guns are restricted.
They come to drink with guns.
Yeah, they come and drink. Their gun is here. Their gun is hidden. In Uganda side, there are no guns. Karamojongs come, they are with nothing. Only UPDF and the police, Uganda side, have the guns. In Kenya, if this agreement is supposed to work out, let President Uhuru Kenyatta, when he comes back, involve some of us who can write a good paper on how to, you must combat banditry on this side for that agreement to be successful. You can't drink with Nanok, who comes with extra bodyguards. Because after he's drunk, he's going to drive back. He will face people, they will kidnap him. So Ugandans are saying, how will it work?
They have to disarm the Pokot
Yeah.
and the Turkana communities. All right. And of course, like we mentioned here the other day, the government of Cameroon has sent some Cameroonians across the world to try and speak to Ambazonians, and it has started because the talks are supposed to be and collect
To
information.
speak what?
To collect information how the
Release the prisoners first, and then send the envoy. People will bring real folks. But now people are bringing lies. They maybe want to eat some few sausages with you. I've been in this game before. Bring the soldiers first. Release the political prisoners that you have sentenced at midnight in the morning.
Yes, that should be the first step towards maybe showing goodwill that he's really interested in this dialogue. But they're not reaching out to the fine. Some politicians from the Anglophone region already gave their report, and the Catholic Church already gave theirs. So we're waiting to see how this dialogue will take place, and if at all Paul Biya would agree for Ambazonia to secede, because he said he can talk about anything else but not Ambazonia being a country. So I don't know how this dialogue will happen. We're waiting to see that.
You know what? It's a tragedy.
It is a tragedy.
Can I say that again?
It is.
It is. A very big tragedy. And Africa, we have a lot to do. That's it.
All right. So I guess we thank our viewers. We still have another 15 minutes or so to go.
Oh, we've finished in time. I think we can call it a recap on some of the issues that we have talked. One, safety is paramount for any institution. The health and safety regulations of Kenya gives the Kenyans the hope to use the facilities, the infrastructure that they are building. But the way we have constructed our buildings leaves quite a lot to be desired. We construct our buildings. I think my production team should tape that. What do you think? Can I begin?
Yes.
Yes. Fred? Fred.
Okay.
In the entire world, health, safety, preparedness of disaster are key issues in any working environment. The safety regulations of any institution or infrastructure in the world are paramount to a successful economy. We have health and safety regulations in industries, in hospitals, in schools. But what baffles us, and what baffles most of us, is that these regulations are not followed. For example, putting up a school in Kenya, you need to go through several methods before you are approved to have the children, including the capability of you housing 800 school children who were actually part of this school that collapsed by itself. But what does this teach us? It teaches us that there are areas in this country that need help. One of those is that area where the school was built just near petrol stations, near the roads blocking everything, no sewage, no escape routes. This is the tragedy of Africa we have. In most African countries, people don't follow health and safety regulations. Most countries have no disaster preparedness mechanisms. Africa is reactive instead of being proactive. What has led us to this? Why are we behaving in a manner that we don't see? What is the building? What does it look like? Are there cracks in the building? I believe the parents who are taking children to this school, at this hour, they should reflect, and most of the parents in this country should also look at the schools and institutions where they leave their children. Some of the schools are inhabitable. Conditions are very dangerous. There's a school somewhere in Kajiado which has been condemned near the railway, and still children use it. So are we ourselves to blame for all these disasters that come to us? Whoever is the owner of this school was aware that this school will come down. Use your conscience to decide as to whether you are doing the right thing. If you are spitting on the road, if you are throwing, dirt on the road, if you are breaking things on the road, stealing the lamps, lights, stealing the signposts on the road, think of the other people who would need them. And then always be on alert to alert the authorities of what you have seen, what is in the place, because that would help. To you, you might think it's a smaller thing, but it's a very good thing for Africa. Do we have health and safety regulations in Africa, in our offices? How many of you know your health and your safety and health regulations? How many of you practice it? How many of you put buildings in exit routes? How many of you put everything in exit routes? Your bags, your what, your sticks. Remember, when the fire catches, you need this route. So get away from it. Take care. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. And we see them here tomorrow or later on? I'm saying that is very good. There, I think we should.
We shall see it today, I think.
Right.
the production team can cut out some of the things, then the thing can flow.
All
And
right.
thank you very much for it.
Okay.
Unless you have something else,
No, I'm through.
you can excuse me to go.
No, we're through. I think we'll see you here again tomorrow for another edition of Good Morning Africa. Thank you so
You
much
don't want me today?
for engaging with us. I think we're done. We're done. Our time is up.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
I've been sent away on compulsory
Rest.
rest. So thank you very much, all of you, wherever you work, continue to work for Africa, keep Africa. Thank you very much. President Uhuru Kenyatta will address the United Nations General Assembly tomorrow.
Oh, he will be.
I think yes.
That's good.
For Kenya, we might bring it live from wherever he is. You'll bring it live and analyze.
All right.
Yes, wherever it is, we are still there. Those we have not forgotten, all our brothers in conflicts. We still work. Those in Zimbabwe, thank you very much. Those fake abductions should stop. The doctor who said he had been abducted, then his phone was on, yet he was having a drink, several drinks with a girlfriend, and he forgot that out there people were killing a nation. Thank you very much. God bless you. This station is therefore for Africa with, Africa by Africa. Ciao.